When there's hyper-regeneration of the peripheral nerves after an injury, because when does any of this happen? After there's any injury, the 3 phases healing always happen, always. 1 cell, 2 cells, 10 cells, that's the way it goes. Your job is to document that. The more sensitive your documentation is, the more likely you're going to pick it up. You don't do sensitivity testing, you're not going to pick it up unless it's gross. So if you have increased number of nerves in that area, just because there's an increased number in the same area, when the patient does activities of daily living, bending, twisting, turning, sleeping, cooking, showering, in other words, they live life, they move dynamically, right? When this happens, because there's an increased number of nerves in the same confined area, are you more likely, less likely, or about the same to feel pain? More likely. Why? There's just an increase in the number of nerves in the same confined area with the same motion. Does that make sense? You need to be able to explain that. You need to be able to explain that to a jury. Number 2, the nerves that regenerate are more sensitive. You guys know this. You hurt yourself, you touch it, and it's painful quicker, right? Now, what does that mean to the patient? If those nerves heal where they fire at a lower threshold, what does that mean to the patient? Well, when the patient does typically active range of motion, they typically won't have any trouble. But when they go into overpressure motion, in other words, the more they stress that tissue, okay, the more likely I'm going to compress that nerve and fire it. So what does it mean to the patient? It means that nerve's going to fire when I could do things like, let's say, bend over, and I could bend over and pick up laundry. Now when I bend over, I can't. When I go into overpressure, I can't. Why? Because the nerves are firing quicker. So you have lower threshold, so the activity that you normally could do at 100% with no firing, now when you try to do it 100% will fire because of the low threshold of the nerves. You guys know that. You injure yourself, it's a little more sensitive, so what do? You don't move it as much. Okay? Makes sense, right? This is how I explain it to a jury. Number 3, now we're mixing the nerves with the collagen. So the collagen is synthesized. It's only synthesized when? Only in the second phase. Is collagen synthesized in the inflammatory phase? No. Is it synthesized in the remodel phase? No. Collagen is synthesized in the repair phase of healing. That's why it's called repair. So when you have collagen, now what's the big deal with this collagen? You got 3 big deals. It's type 3 collagen, not type 1 that you're born with. What does that mean? Number 1, the collagen goes in there in a matrix formation. It just randomly goes in. It just randomly lays down. What does that mean to the patient? Well, when that matrix goes in randomly and those increased number of peripheral nerves get trapped in the matrix. So we have an increased number of nerves. Does the likelihood of those nerve trappings go up or down if you have an increase in the number of nerves? Goes up. So now you have this matrix. So you have these nerves that are increased that are now in the matrix. So now you move. So what happens when you move? It contracts. So now you have these peripheral nerves that are in the matrix more than normal. So is the patient more likely to have pain or less likely? More likely. That's what happens first. The next thing that happens is those nerves will fire quicker. Why will they fire quicker when the patient moves? It's lower threshold. So you have more nerves, lower threshold. So it moves, so it's going to compress them and start to pain more because increased nerves, and because it's a lower threshold, it's going to fire quicker. That's why you'll have pain that'll get you to stop doing an activity of daily living. You'll modify your behavior, or you won't do that, or you'll stop going into overpressure, okay?